One of the greatest things about Tonic Tutor is that all the games can be customized so that they're at the right level for the student. As an example of how to customize a game, we're going to take a look at the Ladybug settings. If I click on the Settings button in the Ladybug game box, I'll be taken to a page where I can see all of the features of this game that I can change. For example, I can change what score the student has to achieve to win the game, how many lives or chances they have, and because the Ladybug game involves listening, I can control how many times a student is allowed to hear the interval and what range of pitches the computer will choose from. So as a teacher, I have a lot of control. At the top of the screen, I can see that this game is recommended for grade 2 to grade 10. That's 8 grade levels that can be accommodated by this one game. For a brief description of the game and its pedagogical focus, I can click on the question mark next to the title. Over to the right, the weekly lesson drop-down lets you assign the number of times this game should be played each week. You might remember that back on the Edit Lesson page, the game boxes have a drop-down that performs the same task. So if I change the number here, it will also change on the Edit Lesson page, and vice versa. Below this, I've got all the settings that I can change for the Ladybug game. I can click on the drop-downs to see a list of all the options for each setting. To find out more about the settings, I can hover over the question marks to the right of the drop-downs. Below the drop-down settings, there's a message telling me that I have to assign a minimum of 3 intervals. This is important because the game won't work unless 3 intervals are selected. Below that, there are 2 buttons that let me easily check or uncheck all of the interval boxes at once. If I click on either of them, a loader icon will appear next to the buttons, telling me that the task is being performed. Let's see what happens if I don't select enough intervals. I can test the game settings by clicking on the Test Settings button at the top right of the page. This will load a version of the game that includes all of the settings that I've just assigned. I can play the game and decide whether it's going to be appropriate for my student. To find the game, I need to scroll down below the settings box. Whoops, Tonic Tutor is telling me that not enough intervals have been selected. Not to worry, if I go back up to the settings and turn on a few more intervals, I can test the settings again. And this time it works. Now I can play the game exactly as the student would. Once I'm finished testing, I can click on the Return to Lesson button at the top of the page. I'll be taken back to the Edit Lesson page and I can edit the settings of a different game.